Blockchain Nation? What up, YouTube? Thank you so much for taking the time to subscribe to this channel. I'm sorry, to watch this video. But if you haven't subscribed, please subscribe by hitting the subscribe button below. And make sure you hit the bell so that you can get weekly notifications whenever we release videos. For those who watch these videos consistently, I want to say a big thank you. You are indeed far too kind. So, all right then. Have you ever wondered what's the best cloud computing platform? Is it AWS? Is it Azure? Or is it Google Cloud? Today we're going to look at the pros of each ones, and we're just going to go over them, and then you decide. We get to say, or will we conclude on which is the better one? Let's see. But so if you're out there and you're wondering what cloud computing platform to focus your time on, excuse me, because different recruiters or different companies use different cloud computing platforms. In the olden days, I mean, when I started working in IT, before, companies would buy these huge servers and they'll bring them into their locations, which was just absolute madness. And those servers cost millions and millions of dollars. But now you don't have to do that anymore. Thanks to these great guys or these great companies that have put together their own cloud platforms, which allow you to have software as a service, hardware as a service, and applications as a service, and in most cases you only pay for what you use, which is a phenomenal concept and wonderful stuff. So we're going to look over these three and we're going to decide, or you tell me, or we'll decide which you think is the best platform. So let's start by talking about when did they all start. So AWS actually was the first to market. AWS, that's why I believe they have a greater market share. There's something about being in the business or being in the industry first, and so that kind of puts you ahead of the rest of the competition. That's why there's a lot of noise around AWS, because they were the first to market. But Azure by Microsoft came up with its own cloud platform sometime in 2010, February. And then finally, Google Cloud, they came late to the race. They came in 2011. Basically, platforms that Google runs, like YouTube, they were looking for a way to scale their platform, and they figured, okay, why don't what they did to scale their platforms deciding to go on cloud, they decided to make that service available the same way AWS and Microsoft has made it available as well. So that's the first thing, just to highlight that AWS was first to market, which is why they have a larger market share. Anyways, so how are they different? So the availability region, AWS has 55 availability regions at the time I'm recording this. Azure has about 44 or over 44, and Google, because they are late to the game, has less than 18 availability regions. So obviously, because AWS was first to market, they were able to set up more infrastructure than these other two who are late bloomers, and they're coming right behind. So let's talk about the next thing, which is the market share. So market share as of now, AWS has 40% market share. That's huge. Followed by Azure, which has 30%, and Google also has 10%. But even though Google has 10% market share, a couple of years ago, or just last year, they had about 8% market share. So they have gained 2%. They've taken 2% of the market share, which is great. So even though they were late bloomers, they're trying to eat up some of that space and trying to get into that market. And so that's where they are. So in terms of market share, AWS is 40%, Azure is 30%, and Google is just lagging behind at 10%. So market share. Next thing is, let's look at the clients that they have. So AWS has clients like Netflix, Airbnb, and BMW, which are huge players, and those are huge Fortune 500 companies. So the list goes on and on of different companies that we can get that actually use AWS. And it also depends on what part of the world that you live in. For example, where I live in Baltimore, in Maryland, and you see different job offers, and you see different companies using different cloud platforms. But in this part of where in the world, at the time I'm recording this video, AWS is also a market share leader. In fact, I have so many people, so many friends who are learning about AWS and stuff. Anyways, Azure, in terms of clients, we have HP, we have Honeywell, we have Adobe, which are also big companies as well, and they're using Microsoft Azure. So Azure is somewhere in the middle, and these are big players, these are big companies, so nothing to look down on in terms of clients that Azure has as well. So they have some big players there as well. And then Google has HSBC, they've got Domino's, they've got PayPal, And so Google is coming behind, but they have some good clients. They have a good client base, and the list goes on and on of people that service. So as you notice, as I'm mentioning all these companies, these are big players, these are huge companies. So it gives each and every one of these platforms some credibility. The fact that you have major Fortune 500 companies that are actually using these cloud services. All right, next thing is usability, and I'll just show you this real quick on my screen. So this is AWS, this is the console. It's very interesting. It's is it user friendly? I guess it is. It's a huge monstrosity if you're just into this for the first time, but it's good. As you can see, your EC2 instance, your ECR, so the big things on AWS are the fact that you can spin up an EC2, then the S3 in terms of storage, and the next thing that's big is the elastic block storage. And I like the fact that you have this Code Star, which is also good for developers. It's a good tool to use. So the big concepts on AWS are the EC2, the S3, and the elastic block storage. Bottom line is, the interface is not too bad. It's good. It's nice. It's easy for you to navigate through it and come up with stuff. As you can see, the great thing about this cloud services, you only pay for what you use, so you can now decide which region that you want to pick. And as you can see, what I was talking about before about regions, which is just fantastic. I'm not going to spin up an EC2 instance. Yes, they charge me, but I'm going to do that in another video and show you how that's set up. Yeah, so I've come a long way from out of the video I did last year. I was talking about how I was absolutely clueless in AWS. I'm still kind of clueless, as you can see, but I'm much better than I used to be. All right, in terms of usability, this is the Azure's dashboard. I personally think that I like Azure's dashboard. It's so cool. It's different from AWS's dashboard. It's nice. It looks more compact and more, I don't know, user-friendly in my personal opinion. I know all the great gurus out there are shouting, "Off with his head! Off with his head!" Why is he saying this? But yeah, I think Azure too has a very cool dashboard. So in terms of usability, and yeah guys, these things are free. You can actually sign up for the free tier, so you can just create your own account and navigate around to see. Lastly, this is a Google platform. This is Google Cloud. I think also this is kind of user-friendly. The fact that it has everything else stacked here, the different databases that you can use, and MongoDB, which is great, and the list goes on and on. MySQL, if you're a PHP person, you can have your own Postgres database as well, so you can deploy all these wonderful. So I like the fact that all the databases are in one place. So this is also kind of really cool, the way everything is set up. AWS has a great interface too, but I just think from a user-friendly perspective, I kind of like what I see with Azure and Microsoft. Don't judge me, maybe because maybe my someone out there might shoot me. They might say that I'm not very leaning towards AWS, but I am. I know. I love AWS. I love them all. I love the one that will put money in my pocket. Kidding. Anyways, last thing we'll talk about is downtime. So obviously, because as an institution, as a company, the fact that your entire infrastructure is leaning on a cloud platform, you want to make sure the cloud platform is reliable, is up and reliable, and you are not in a situation whereby you can access your applications. So downtime wise, the most that has ever happened downtime wise with AWS at the time I'm reading this is 3 hours in 2014, which is impressive. Maximum is 3 hours in 2014, as in comparison to Azure that had 39 hours. 39 hours downtime is crazy. That's for a bank. Like if you're a bank and you have 39 hours downtime, you're out of business. Anyway, that was 2014. I'm sure they haven't had anything major. And also in 2014 as well, Google had 14 minutes of downtime. So that's what I have for in comparison to these three. So what the question now is, which is the best platform to pick? And the answer is the one that works for you. I know I say that all the time, but honestly, the way it is like any industry. Blockbusters was the major player when it came to video rentals. Now nobody rents DVDs anymore because Netflix put them out of business. You can keep an eye on all these three. People will argue and say that AWS has market share and AWS is going to be the market winner forever, but honestly you never know. I would say also depends on where you live. Like I said in the beginning, some of these cloud platforms are more available in some regions and they're not available in some particular regions, so that's a huge factor. So I would say try and get as much experience as you can in one. When you have developed some kind of proficiency in that, then you can move to another cloud platform. But trying to learn all of them at once is crazy because this stuff is hard. I deceive you not. It really is. Yeah, AWS on its own is a monster. Just learning through all this stuff. Although I do know people who know AWS and they're making $108,000 a year or something crazy like that. But also with Azure too, you can get a nice high-paying job, and with Google as well. So I would say pick one and master one, knowing the pros and cons. But if times change, because also with AWS, I know recently, as of sometime last year, when it was, I believe it was Capital One was hacked, Unfortunately, in the US, here in the US, loads and loads of people, their credit card information was compromised, social security numbers, and unfortunately it was a former AWS employee who had access, who was responsible for the hack. So who knows what that might do to the company long term, or also it might be a plus to them because you'll obviously release statements how their security has improved. So I don't know which direction it's going to go. So I would suggest you pick one and master it. Depends on what industry or what area that you live in. In some regions there might be a huge influx or a huge goal, or there might be a huge demand for AWS developers. There might be a huge demand for Azure developers. There might be a huge demand for Google Cloud developers. As of this recording, well, in part of the world where I live in, mostly it's Azure and AWS. I don't see too many Google Cloud, but I'm sure it looks like they're fighting for this market share. They're coming behind and they're trying to make it happen. Who knows what happens? So that's me for AWS, Azure, and Google Cloud. All great platforms, all doing amazing things. I've given you the differences and all, and I'm going to leave you guys to respond in the comments and tell me the things that you think makes one platform better than the other platform. And please don't judge me, but neither should you shout off with his head.
How dare you! Off with his head!
Anyways, my wish for you is that you learn how to code, because coding is changing and will change the world, especially this blockchain distributed ledger technology space. And it's my personal opinion that those who get involved early will greatly impact the future. And if that's you, then that's going to change the world.